Adani and the ghost perhaps of what has happened in January, which is the Hindenburg report, could come back to haunt us. We're given to understand George Soros, the American billionaire known to fund some very radical causes. One of his investigative agencies are now pointing at a report that could come our way, could affect Indian markets. Perhaps it's going to be another story like Hindenburg, like Adani. We don't know what just as yet, but it is likely to spook a lot of companies today.
So, Shweta, I think what happens is that every time, there is a name like an investigative report, or there's a name like George Soros, or there is a report that says that, hey, there is going to be a listed company under investigation, all antennas, rightly so, go up, right? Now, obviously, this is a story which has not been detailed out yet. It's a source-based story done by PTI, the Newswire agency, Press Trust of India, and there is absolutely no details available yet. So, I think it will be incorrect to speculate which company this may be, what could be the scale of manipulation, if at all there is any, what could be the scope of the investigation undertaken by the George Soros funded company. And of course, George Soros is somebody who is quite, if I can say, hated in India after his remarks that came out soon after the Hindenburg research, where he had accused both Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the government of India to be in some sort of a collusion with hand in glove with the Adani group. And the Adani group and the entire Adani, company, the parent company as well as the group companies were all, being investigated at that time by SEBI, and that investigation in fact continues, and we were hoping that some sort of fruition of that report would have come on the 14th of August. It did not. Another 15 days, 29th August is when we are waiting for the SEBI report in Supreme Court to come out, giving some sort of a way forward when it comes to Adani Group stocks. Adani Group stocks, of course, have seen tremendous buying, tremendous inflows of investments from Indian as well as global partners, more so global. And every day we are seeing some sort of a stock price movement on Adani. We've been tracking that. So, which company is George Soros referring to?
We don't know.
Or the investigative agency funded by George Soros referring to? I think it'll be very, very speculative to take any name. I have some ideas. I'm sure you do as well. Soyash does. Everybody there watching the show or anybody who's read this report would be drawing some conjecture in their minds on which company this could be. And could this result in another massive sell-off? Could we see a bloodbath on the Indian stock markets? We don't know. I think it's going to be incorrect to speculate right now. But let's just hope that, no matter what company is being referred to here, let's just hope that this is not something which which plays with stakeholders' money, shareholders' money. It should not be a company that India has invested faith and trust in addition to the money of retail investors. And hopefully nothing major should come out of it that spooks global investors and makes them wary of investing in Indian companies as well.
And this, of course, the agency, Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, which was founded in 2006. It is funded by George Soros and Rockefeller Brothers Fund. So a lot of antennas will be up. And the moment we take George Soros's name, because he is, of course, hated also for his very anti-government remarks that he has made in the past, anti-Modi remarks to be particular that he's made in the past. Now, Soros is an American financier. He has anti-government views which are well known. He's also an institutional donor in this project. OCCRP, as the acronym goes, is set to report on organized crime. It publishes news articles in the media thereafter. So they'll first come up with a report. Whenever they do, they'll then be followed by news reports, and all of that, of course, hinting at what could be in making for an Indian conglomerate, a company. We don't know whether it's going to be big or small, but all eyes on whether this is going to have an impact perhaps on the capital market like the Hindenburg report did. And all in all, I think it's the people who lose their money in a sense after that sort of report. So again, I think all speculative at this point in time.
All speculative, all source driven, and hopefully something should come out in terms of at least putting an end to the speculation. But the magnitude of that, of course, we don't know yet.
But I think it's also interesting to point out before we move on, when such a report comes out, it has an impact on investors. It has an impact on the common man, people who are invested in a company, who are invested in the capitals market. They lose money all in all. So I'm not sure whether there are enough stringent provisions in place already to protect people whose money is lost in process, which is what happened in case of Hindenburg.
So I think many people advise investors when they are entering the stock market that, hey, this is at your own risk. Stock market investments are subject to market risks, right? I think every disclaimer out
very
there
fast
states
disclaimer that
very
you hear.
clearly, fast, slow, whatever, but I think it's been used so many times that it has become part of lexical usage. I mean, it just flows out very, very easily. So the point is, yeah, SEBI's job is to protect the investors. Its job is to ensure that there isn't any stock price manipulation, there isn't any greasing of palms, any underhand dealings, any short selling, any vested interest sort of playing into manipulation or movement of share prices. So the job of any market regulator, SEBI in the case of India, SEC in the case of US, every economy, every capital market has got its own regulator, and the job of the regulator is to protect and ensure that that shareholders are not subjected to any undue risk which arises by way of lack of corporate governance or rules of the land not being followed. That is SEBI's purpose of existence.
And now, the mandate,
now, of course, in case there is a company we're talking about, what happened in the case of Hindenburg, for example, of course, a lot of people, when the stock prices tanked, a lot of retail investors must have lost money, right? Because they may not have timed the market in a way that they sold it before the Hindenburg research, or might not have held on to the stock because it has bounced back, not at the same levels as we saw in Jan, but stocks have reasonably bounced back from its lows in Jan and Feb. So I think, again, it's a complete function of playing the stock market game, being a long-term investor, not just looking at technicals, but really looking at the fundamentals of a company, looking at the entire environment around a particular industry. And if you're not an expert yourself, seeking professional advice while making investments. So as long as all of that continues to happen, and there is SEBI's vigil on no malpractice when it comes to manipulation of prices, shareholders by and large should be protected. But of course, there are going to be one-odd black swan events like these every now and then.
We're waiting. Hopefully, this will have less damning impact on Indian stock markets, on whichever company perhaps George Soros and the project that he funds will expose. And we don't have a timeline just as yet. So all of it in the realm of speculation at this point in time.